You're listening to the Woman of Value podcast. You are about to hear the story of a woman who is following her dreams and passions and creating positive change in the world.
You start to think you are not worth anything, that you're worthless, or that you are crazy, or that you don't deserve anything that you have. That is actually what I started to see myself as, whereas before I was really self-confident.
My guest, Marja Zapusek, survived an abusive relationship, and soon after becoming a single mom, she struggled in the corporate world with an average salary and felt chained to her hometown. She was deeply depressed. Her body was always in pain. She was angry. She was nervous, and she was chronically tired. And through all this, she still knew something would be able to help her. And so she kept on seeking until she found Access Consciousness. And we'll learn more about that in just a minute. Today, I'm happy to report that Marja is traveling all over the world. She's creating her own thriving business, and she has a happy home and a beautiful relationship with her 7-year-old daughter. She has a healthy body now, and she's smiling most of the time. Welcome to the show, Marja.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. So let's get started with the theme of the show, which is the Woman of Value podcast. And I always like my guests to answer the question, what does woman of value mean to you?
Well, to me, woman of value is someone that actually knows and sees her own value. But more than that is that she shares it. She shares that value and lets that value contribute to other people and to the world. And also sees the world as a value, as a valuable place, and values the future that is possible to be created in the world. So that is actually, she actually is that person, or that lady, that woman is actually first and foremost for me is a lady, but also she can be an Amazon woman if she wants to, and if that is required as well.
Amazon woman. I feel like we have to get t-shirts made. So Marja, take us through that aha moment that you had. You've been through so much with abuse and being a single mom, hating your job, body pain, all of that. Take us through that moment when you realized that you needed to make a change and claim your value.
Well, that is actually the most obvious aha moment for me was actually during that abusive relationship, or let's say at the end of it, where I didn't, for myself, I wasn't thinking about really leaving or ending the relationship. But then something occurred where I saw that this was really having an effect on my daughter. Before that, it wasn't really having that much of an effect, or I didn't see it. I didn't just realize. But then this relationship, or her father, was actually starting to act or treat her as he was treating me. And that for me was, no, enough. I will not let her be the effect of this. I will not let her have the same future that I saw myself having. And I will not be I will not be an inspiration for that. I would much rather be an inspiration for something different. And I said, that is enough. I actually have to do something different. And soon afterwards, I actually took action and really created a different set of circumstances, a better set of circumstances in record time for me. It was 1 month moving out. I didn't know where to go or how to. I didn't know to go anywhere to go. And we found a new house. I started a new job. We really changed things around, and that was actually me also seeing what I'm capable of, and starting to seeing my own worth before, whereas before I really thought I could not have anything better, this is what I was destined to have.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it's very easy to fall into that rut. Many women that I have in my coaching practice as a dating and relationship coach, which is my other practice, they come from really awful relationships where they were put down, treated terribly. And it's what I love about your story is that you made up your mind, you took a stand, not just for yourself, but for your daughter. I think it's often easier to see through the eyes of our children that we are the model. And do we really want to be modeling this for them?
Yes. That was the really the stop point for me, or the take action point. Before I was just not was going to, but not really. And then when I saw that, I was no, enough.
What in your past, sort of, let's connect the dots because there always are dots
Mm-hmm.
to connect. But what from your family of origin or in your past sort of paved the way for you to choose a man who was this awful?
Well, he didn't. First of all, he didn't seem in the beginning, and it did actually become that. But in the beginning, it was the a perfect choice to make. He was a doctor. He was from a great family, and in my country, when you finish school, you get a job and you settle down. You have kids, and the whole 9 yards. I think it's called. Um, and that is also what every woman in my country is supposed to do, and that is what I did. I just followed the footsteps. My parents did the same thing. Everyone else, my friends, everyone around me was doing the same thing, and so naturally I was following those footsteps. And it's actually that situation, I look at it now as a blessing, because it did wake me up. It did bring me, that is a gift, that gift in disguise, if you can put it like that. But that actually did open up the door for me to be here where I am now.
Yeah. It's hard to see in the moment, but you can look back now and see this was what led you here. And without having him in your life and taking those steps, you wouldn't have the amazing life you have today.
No, I'm really grateful for this whole experience.
And so it's mindset. It's really how we look at the world. And I see so many people will just look at those kinds of situations and say, why me? What did I do to deserve this? And instead, you're turning this around to a positive experience. And you also took this leap of faith. You had no idea where you were going, how you were going to make it work. You just knew you had to get out. So what gave you the strength to do that?
Well, first of all, it was my daughter. It was the future that I saw. Even in the beginning, I said, in the definition of a woman of value, she has to look at the future. She has to see the future. For me, um, it's about seeing the future, what your current actions, are creating, and where they're leading. Do you really want to go there? Do you really want do And also taking this broader perspective, not just what will this choice, or will this that I am doing, what will it create in, not 6 months or 1 year, but actually looking far further into the future. And this is actually what that was the first initiative. And then it's when you just see that something has to change, when when you are not happy, when you're a shadow of yourself, when you stop smiling, whereas before you were happy, whereas before you were a different person, when you realize that you don't have any friends anymore, or that your career that was before, that was thriving, or that was starting to thrive or starting to go up, it just dwindled down and everything stopped, and you found yourself just in one place, like limited place, and with nowhere to go, with nowhere to turn. That is actually what gives us when we're at our lowest. That's also this push that we get from inside, I would also say.
Yeah, so if somebody's listening who is in a bad situation, whether it's a job where they're very devalued or a relationship where they feel diminished, what advice would you give to them?
First of all, I would say, um, flip things on their head. That would be the first thing, and look at what is right about this situation and what is right about you are not getting at this point. So try to look at a totally different angle, or try to go outside and look at your situation from someone else. Or if someone else would be coming to you, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them? And and actually, first and foremost, stop judging yourself. Stop judging yourself and stop seeing yourself as something that doesn't have someone that doesn't have value, or the not valuable product. Uh, Actually, turn judgment. My first tool is always to give is turning judgment into gratitude. So if you need to, start writing a journal, or just 1 to 3 or 5 things a day that you are grateful for about yourself. Instead of starting with a litany of judgment every day, just maybe stop yourself and say, okay, I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to see where I'm grateful, what I'm doing today. If the smallest things are can turn things around, and just start looking at what you're grateful for you, the choices you are making, and then go from there. I would say that.
Yeah, gratitude is such a beautiful thing. And for a lot of people, they think, well, I have nothing to be grateful for. So, and judgment really is a killer. So, for people who are like really down in the dumps, sometimes it can be really hard. And so, if you could walk through, like, where were you judging yourself, if you don't mind sharing your own personal experience with this, and what were you able to focus on in terms of gratitude to start getting out of that dump that you were in?
Most of the time, if you're in that situation that I was in, it's actually, I don't know if people are, of course, the term gaslighting is widely known.
Hmm.
But if you don't know what that is, that is that is that is a term, or that is a situation where someone is constantly lying to you and making you think that you are something that you're not, or that you're less than you are. And even though, if you were in the beginning, if you were really self-confident, that person can make you think, uh, as time goes on, as they continue their behavior, that you start to think you are not worth anything, that you're worthless, or that you are crazy, or that you don't deserve anything that you have. That is actually what I started to see myself as, whereas before I was really self-confident. So start looking back at what you were, before you became this. And there's a tool in the technique that I am doing and that I'm facilitating. It's called "What's Light is Really True for You, and What is Heavy, What is Contracted is not really true for you, is a lie for you. So it actually brings you to start following your own knowing. You could also call it following your intuition. And so in this situation, something that is really bringing you down, that is actually if you feel like contracted, if you feel really in a rut, like you said, start asking, is this actually really true for me? Or might there be something different available? So whatever you can do, so you can turn how you see things around. So turn them on their head. Either if it's looking at through gratitude, or using the tool, what is light is true for you, and what is heavy is a lie. And start maybe reaching out to people that you know that are a contribution to you, that are kind to you, or maybe to family that you haven't been in contact with. That is also what happened to me. I started isolating myself from everyone. I didn't have friends anymore. I didn't have contact with my family so much. And start reaching out to people. Don't hold it in. Don't just have it for yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice.
Yeah.
The part of gaslighting and part of that whole personality disorder is to isolate somebody so that they are unable to see that this is a lie. And it's really scary stuff. You know, for a lot of people, it can be very difficult to get out of that hole and to really rebuild your life again. And what I would like to explore a little bit is the physical manifestations of what was going on. So you were saying that you were in pain all the time, you were, you know, like your body hurt. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Was that all connected to what was going on in your relationship?
Yes, of course. Like how our overall state actually does it starts to take effect on our body. And if we're not happy, if we're depleted all the time, if we don't have any energy, if we're in stress all the time, if we're constant worry, if we do this, um, what will happen? That's also a sign of gaslighting. If you don't know what to do anymore, because you think either you're crazy, or you don't know what your reality is anymore, or what is true or what is not. And if I do this, what will that end up like? Or if I do this, will this upset anyone, upset someone again? So if you're in constant stress and worry, that actually has effect on your body. And so also having taking time for yourself, taking time for your body, and starting to uh, care for yourself. And really, it does help when you are not when you reach out to someone. Sometimes even a talk to someone really releases a lot of stress, releases and you also start seeing things differently. Whereas before, you were under the impression of, this is wrong, this is how it is, and the lies start dissipating.
Yeah, those are all very good tools. Is you can lose track of what's real and what's not. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I really love the heaviness and the lightness, and really training your intuition again, because we all have brilliant intuition, and we often push it away and say it's not true, that can't be true, especially if we're with somebody who's trying to control us and tell us that this don't trust yourself anymore. So that what you're pulled towards, and I like to use the words feeding and draining, because something
Mhm.
feeds your soul and something drains the life out of you. And you can feel that energy, when you're with people who drain you, or when there's a decision to make and it's like, oh my God, that just feels wrong. I even like making a choice about attending an event, I will check in with my body before I go, like before I say yes, because I picture myself at the event. Say it's a wedding, and I know that I'm going to have to travel 2 hours to get there, and not going to really know too many people there, and don't really want to spend that much time with people I don't know. And I'm an introvert, and I don't really want to go. So I'm going to send them a nice gift and say no. And it's important to check in before you put yourself into that situation. And but
Mhm,
that's a training, so it
mhm,
gets better and easier over time.
mhm. And yeah, and also this tool of light and heavy is really, you can use it everywhere, especially with your body. As now we're talking about the body, because if this is something, we also, if we don't want to go, or we, it's not something that is not comfortable for us, check in, like you said, with your body. So maybe asking a question of like, if I choose this, if I go here, what will my life be like in 5 years? And if you get this sense of lightness, if you get this sense of expansion, it might be there's something there that is going to be beyond your expectations. You might meet someone, or you might, there might be someone there or something there that will contribute to your business, to your life, to whatever. And also, if it's, for example, if you see that there's a contraction, or if you get this weird, like, sense in the gut, like gut feeling, and you're like, no, that's also your body telling you, it's communicating with you, and it's cooperating with you, and it's telling you maybe that's not the best choice. And listening to our body, listening to us, to our intuition, is what also we give up when we're in a situation like I was talking about, because everything is about the other person. We stop listening to ourselves. We just give all the value, all the credence, all everything to them, because it's designed, they are doing that, so you would give up your own knowing, your own intuition, so they would devalue you, so you would follow them and not yourself.
Yeah.
And the first thing I would always recommend is start listening to you, and start listening to your body. If it hurts, it's telling you something.
Yeah, a woman of value listens to her body and she has agency over her choices. And it can be difficult. I mean, people have bosses who are like this, who are dominant, and I've had bosses in the past. And I was just telling a friend recently, I left a pretty lucrative job many years ago that was demeaning. It I My whole body was protesting going to this job, and I quit. I just quit. I felt undervalued even though I was paid well. I felt like I was diminishing every single time I walked through those doors. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a point in my life where I won't do that anymore. Many years ago I might have chosen the money over my well-being, but to me, when you reject the money, when it's not connected to something that really makes you feel like you're growing and that you're valued, when you reject that, money usually comes like around the corner, actually. I've had clients that didn't work out, and I had to let them go many years ago. Now I'm better at vetting my clients, but knowing that that was a lot of money that I just let go, and then like a week later, a better client comes through the door, and it's somebody who I love working with, and I can't wait to get on the call with her. And so it's the same with any relationship. You're dating somebody, they're not really there. They give you little crumbs of attention. And when you take a stand for your value and let that person go, if they're not going to step up, somebody else will come through, but they can't come through that door if you keep holding on to the wrong person.
That is totally true, and very, very. Thank you for saying that. It's very valuable thing to say, to hear, and to say, and to get out there, because choosing for yourself, that is the thing that that will actually open the doors for something different. And we are always taught to put others first, like especially as women.
Yes.
We are taught to like in my country, like everyone has to come first and the woman comes last. Like that is something that is so entrenched in the culture, and I would not say just in my country. It's I would say it's a worldwide thing. And start retraining ourselves that it's also, when you are when you're in a plane, if there's difficulty, you have to put the gas the oxygen mask oxygen mask on your face first, because you cannot be of value, you can't be of contribution to anyone if you're unconscious. You cannot help other people if you don't help yourself, if you're depleted. Correct. If you're the shadow of yourself, you can't do anything for anyone.
Yeah, and it's no fun to be around depleted people either.
No.
It drains us to be around people who are depleted. Tell everybody where you're from, because we haven't talked about that. Yeah, you keep mentioning your country. Obviously, you're not from here in America, but tell us where you're from.
I come from Slovenia, that is in Europe. So it's a small country. I don't know how much you're familiar with it. It's a really small country. So, but it's a beautiful country.
Where is it near?
It's between Austria, Croatia, Italy, and Hungary. It's so small, but we have access to sea. We have mountains. We have lakes. We have how do you call it? I just forgot the words right now. We have everything. Actually, everything is in our country.
Sounds beautiful. And tell our audience, anybody who doesn't know what Access Consciousness is. I've had many guests on my other podcasts from Access Consciousness, and I think one on this one, but it's always good to hear what Access Consciousness is.
Yes. Well, so Access Consciousness is actually a set of tools and techniques that helps you change anything or create anything in actually any area of your life. The target of Access Consciousness is to create oneness and consciousness, and it is actually designed to empower people to know that they know. That target is actually to empower people to know that they know. And the mantra of Access Consciousness is all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. So it's not just the beautiful, the wonderful comes to me with ease and joy and glory, but also something that we consider as difficult or as bad or as not so pleasant comes to us with ease and joy and glory. So we actually start seeing everything from a different perspective. And also it is something that all the tools and techniques also take us out of judgment in general, but first and foremost out of judgment of ourselves.
Yeah, that's such an important thing, to have self-compassion. And so these are all really important things in our lives, that we take care of ourselves first. We put that oxygen mask on. And it's a good example, if we have children, to see what self-care looks like so we can model it for them.
Yeah, because the way we treat ourselves is actually the way others will treat us.
Yes.
You can't expect someone to be contributory and kind and generous to you if you're not being that for yourself, if you're being mean to yourself. I'm saying mean, air quotes, but if you're judging yourself constantly, if you're putting yourself down, it actually attracts that in other people as well. Yeah, it does. You are actually an invitation for others to treat you the way you are treating yourself. And if you turn that around, if you start seeing the value of you, more and more people will be seeing the value of you. It doesn't really mean that everyone will. There are people that will be and choose mean meanness towards you, but that is also their choice, and it's not your problem, and it's not something you have to be stuck with.
Yeah, and it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yes, and you always have a choice to leave or to choose something different, and that is something that is also very valuable to us to know, that we have choice. We always have choice, and we can always change anything if we so choose.
Mm.
There are possibilities available, but we just need to start asking questions and start looking, and um, not just give up.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on the choice thing. That was actually the first tagline I had in my coaching practice, was like going from obligation to choice and helping women find their voice or something like that. Because but all those things were so important to me, and I had not done those things my whole life. So just knowing we don't have to be an obligation. We can choose differently, and that is so empowering. That is a woman of value. She chooses. She doesn't say, I'm stuck. This is the way things are. I was born this way. Everyone in my country is this way. So like what you said before, women in your country have been programmed to be a certain way. And for generations, women have been programmed to be subservient, to be nice. And being nice at the expense of your own dignity is never okay.
Also, people act nice because they're also cutting themselves off from everything. They're not embracing the whole, everything they are,
Yeah.
looking at themselves. If they're only viewing themselves as nice, everything that they don't are not willing to see is actually then going to confront them, and will stuck them and will be a problem. um, and that is also, it can be a manipulative tool, but it also can be something that we think we don't have choice, that we have to be this way, or we have been taught to be that way.
Yeah.
Yes, but we always have choice. We can always choose something different.
Yeah.
um, yes.
Yeah, and what you just said is also really important. So I just want to underline that when we are always trying to be nice, we are not the full expression of ourselves, and we are not fully authentic. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you want to be aligned with who you really are, what your values really are, you can't be kind and nice all the time. You could be kind, you can't be nice at the expense of your true self.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that is also where not judging you comes in, because we think being maybe assertive is something as judge worthy, or as a judgeable offense, or maybe if we're if we're like people say, setting our boundaries, that's not polite, for example, for some people, and they're being taught that that is not a good thing, that, and they are judging that in themselves, and also they are cutting themselves off from being that, from having that available when it is required. Sometimes it's required to be nice and kind, and it's great, but sometimes you have to just say no, and sometimes you have to be assertive, and sometimes you also have to be a little bit intense, because that is also something that it has to be available to you. For example, if there's a situation where you have to really act urgently, if you're just going to be nice all the time, and all sweet and all rainbows and everything, you won't be able to stop a disaster, for example. You have to have all that available to you, and if you judge yourself, if you judge that, you don't have it available, and you can't use it when it's required,
Hmm.
and it doesn't define you. People think that it defines them if they're being a certain way, that something that they think is a judgeable offense. No, it actually also, if you use it, if you're being that of sometimes, doesn't have to be a wrong thing. It can be something that was required at that exact moment, at that situation. And if we judge that about ourselves, we cut that off, and we don't have it available when it really is required.
Yeah, good distinction. Boundaries are one of my favorite things to talk about. I teach a whole course on it. I co-created and co-lead a course on boundaries, and we're about to launch it again. And one of the things we're doing is we created a challenge, a 5-day challenge. And one of the myths that we're busting is that boundaries are mean. And boundaries are not mean. They are the kindest thing you can do for yourself and others is to be clear with where you end and the other person begins, and what's important to you when you take a stand for your values and set a boundary. Marja,
Mhm.
can you take us to what you're creating in the world right now?
Yes, I actually am facilitating classes based on access consciousness, with the modality, and also based on right voice for you and the being you that are specialities of access consciousness. That is my main thing. That is my main focus right now. I am also still in the corporate world. I also do business consultations. I also do mediations right now. I also am writing a book, um, and also have contributed to several other books. And let me see if I think.
I think that's enough. That's quite a bit. I'm having trouble keeping track of everything you're doing. It sounds pretty awesome. So like very full and rich life.
Yes, that is what I've always desired, and what I always knew that was possible. And now I actually get to do this, and I'm really grateful for everything that is possible based on my choices to, like you said, boundaries. I learned to have, like I actually had to have boundaries to to have what I have now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to get into the lightning round now, where I'm going to ask
Yeah.
you a bunch of quick questions. And here's the first one. Fill in the blank. I used
Hmm.
to think I wasn't blank enough.
Well, that's really easy. I wasn't good enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you have worked through that one.
Yes.
What was the number one thing that was holding you back from becoming a woman of value?
Giving greater value to others and not listening to me, not listening to what I know, to my truth.
Mm. What's a mistake that you made that taught you an important life lesson?
That is, again, not following what I knew, because before that mistake, if I can say mistake, I knew I shouldn't go down that road, and I did.
Mm.
I wasn't listening to myself. I was listening to others. I was listening to the culture. I was listening to what is proper for me, instead of actually listening to what will actually work for me and what will be kind to me.
I
Yeah.
can totally relate to that one.
Hmm.
It's very easy for us to not trust our own choices because everybody's telling us something else.
Yeah.
And it's hard to go against the status quo.
Yes, and not listening to your own voice, because other voices are so much louder. And
Yes.
if they're louder, it doesn't it automatically we mean that we think we have to follow those, but actually it's quite the opposite.
So, what is the best advice that you can give to a woman who has given up her value in the past and wants to be more empowered?
To listen to yourself and stop judging yourself. So when you get that sense, that when you get that gut feeling, please follow it. If you get that feeling of don't go there, don't do this, be kind to you, and please follow that knowing. And first of all, stop judging you. Please don't judge you anymore. be kind to you, to be grateful for you, and start seeing the value of you, no matter what it takes, no matter what steps you have to take.
I love that. And finally, Marja, how would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as someone that actually, to be seen as someone that actually knew their value, and through whatever I chose, through whatever I created, contributed to so many people, to other people that did not know that they didn't have a choice, to know that they have choice, and to know that they actually can create a life that is different, that actually can create a life of their dreams if they desire to, that is possible.
Well, you're certainly a great example of somebody who took the initiative to make the changes necessary to step into your value and to stop judging yourself and to pay attention to your intuition. And as a result, you are a wonderful example for so many. And I know this interview will inspire other women to do the same.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I'm grateful, and it's a very great pleasure.
If you would like to step more fully into your value, grab a free copy of The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Woman of Value on my website, thewomanofvalue.com. Just click the link at the top of the homepage. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to click the subscribe button in your listening app. And if there's something in this episode that inspired you, please share it with others, because the more we share these inspirational stories, the more women of value we will have in this world. I'll see you next time.